and this week we're going to be talking through my Wholehearted Business Roadmap. Now, this is a roadmap that I've created for people who are wanting to grow a coaching business, and it's basically kind of a roadmap, a path that is set out so that you can see what steps you can take and when. You don't have to follow it in a super linear way, and some things you might do at the same time, but I found it quite helpful just to visually create it and show people how things might progress and how you can grow your business in this way. So I'm going to talk you through it if you want to see the visual. And there's basically the blog post to accompany this, which will be linked. You can see the visual that accompanies what I'm going to be talking through with the roadmap. So the first thing on the roadmap is your business foundations. Now, these are things like getting really clear on your version of success. I talked about this in an episode a couple of weeks ago, but I think getting really super crystal clear on what that looks like, particularly when it comes to how you want your business to show up for you, is really useful. Now, obviously, like everything in life and business, it can change and evolve as you grow, and that's fine. But I think having something there as you start off is really useful, because it's very easy, I think, at all stages of business to be swept off course by what other people are doing or by what society tells us success is, and ultimately that's going to leave you feeling quite empty. So I think having a really solid, almost quite detailed idea of what that looks like can be really useful as part of that first stage of business, and it's something that you come back to, I think, again and again as well. Another part of your business foundations is getting clear on your niche and your message. So again, a massive part of any business is knowing who it is that they serve, why they serve them, why they're the best person or the best business to serve them. There's so much stuff that goes into niche and message, and where most of my people get a bit stuck is feeling like the niche isn't narrow enough or not clear enough and things like that. And this is an area that I've gotten really stuck in the past. Really felt like I should have this much narrower niche, but always felt like that was really restrictive, and I didn't want to run a business like that. It just didn't feel good to me for it to be that restrictive. And in all honesty, I can change the things that I want to bring into my work, like on a month-to-month basis sometimes. This is just how I am in the world. But the good news is you can have a business even if you're like that, even if you're multi-passionate and you have lots of ideas and things. But having some kind of idea of what your niche and message is, even if that's quite broad, is really helpful in those initial business foundations stage. And then another part of that is obviously thinking about your offers and deciding what those are going to be. For a coach, I would say the first thing that you want to really think about is what your one-to-one offer is going to be, because when you're starting out as a coach, most people, not everyone, again, this depends on your version of success. Some people, they're still technically coaches, but actually they want to teach through a different medium. Perhaps that's an online course, which we'll get onto in a sec. But most coaches are going to want to put together some kind of one-to-one package. And creating that and structuring it is something that is really quite important, because we want to make sure that we're going to take people through a process that's going to work. Also with things like how long it's going to run for, how many sessions, what outcomes is it going to get people, and putting that together with your niche and messages. And there's other stages, like I have a program called the Unboxed Guide to Niche and Messaging, and some of what we do in that is a little bit of market research as well. And all of these things fit together as well. And then the other part of the business foundations is to basically just refine your brand and pull your brand together. Now, your brand isn't just the visuals. Funny enough, I've got an episode coming up for you guys next week on creating a brand. So we'll be looking at that in a bit more depth then. But your brand isn't just your visuals. Your brand is part of your niche and message. It's your values. It's your tone of voice. It's all sorts of different things that come together. But I think the simplest way to think of it as a coach is to think about you and to think about how are you bringing yourself into what it is that you do. Because when people work with coaches, I think it's because they've connected with you. I think what a lot of people have said, funnily enough, I've been getting some feedback for my Wholehearted Business 6-month group program, which I'm going to talk about towards the end, and a lot of the feedback was saying, I've done trainings with you before and I really liked how you worked and I really like this about you, and that was really lovely. But it also just affirmed what I was thinking and saying already around how our brands are us, and people connect with us when they're working with you as a coach. So I think pulling that in is really important. So I think having those business foundations, having those solid things, a really clear version of success, what your niche is, what your message is, how your brand comes into that, and a solid offer to get going with. I think having those things as a foundation makes a lot of sense. And then I think the next stage of that is to create some kind of income baseline. Now, for what I'm concerned about for my guys, for the people who I work with, is, again, this is going to depend on your circumstances, your version of success, but is getting your income baseline met. So what I encourage people to do is to figure out, like, what do they need to make the business viable, and how do we meet that as quickly as possible and with as much alignment as we can as well. So for most of us, it's going to be booking our one-to-one clients and filling up our one-to-one slots with that one-to-one package. So I think, the next stage on the roadmap is thinking about how we do that. So it might be about putting some higher touch strategies in place, because if we are, which I'm going to get onto in a second, if we're doing a lot of marketing, which is just posting stuff on Instagram without any kind of call to action, or faffing about on Facebook or whatever, it's not necessarily going to get us clients quickly enough. So putting some high touch strategies in place can be really useful around getting those clients in a bit quicker. And again, there's different ways we can do that. There's ways we can do it that are more aligned, because a lot of that kind of stuff gets our ick up, it gets our sales ick up, because most of us aren't comfortable DMing people, for example. But there's other ways you can do more of the higher touch stuff and the faster stuff around that to fill your one-to-one slots. And then other things that you might want to do around about this stage, if you've got time, is to create some lower cost offers. Now, some business coach people might be like, no, that's not what you should do. But my reasoning behind it is having some low cost offers, especially with coaching, and especially when your ideal clients are not people who are familiar with the coaching space. So again, a lot of the people who I work with are life coaches, health coaches, people who are working with Joe public out there, people who are experiencing stuff in their lives, who perhaps they haven't been coached before, perhaps they're not really sure what coaching is. And I think giving them some kind of low cost offer that they can access a bit more easily, not than going straight into your one-to-one big package, which should have a good price tag on it, is a better inroad for them, and it allows them to have that taste of working with you. So this can be something like a priceless power hour, which I've spoken about before on the Wholehearted Business Show, but this is one of the strategies that I've employed in the past and that I teach my clients, is around using a power hour style offer and really leveraging that to get people into your one-to-one offers. And then also having some kind of low-cost digital product. And I think there's lots of reasons why that makes sense. And I'll link to the episode where I've discussed this before. I think around super simple passive income, I think I've talked about that before, where having a small digital product can be useful as well. So we've got those different options. I think around at this stage of business, it can be interesting to play with this, but really it's about getting those one-to-one clients in. I also think it's about getting our confidence up as well, especially if we're new. I think it's about how do we work with people. And I think sometimes I've got a weird thing around around advising people whether or not they should offer coaching sessions for free. I tend to err on the side of no. However, I think for most of us, I think just coaching and just doing it is the best way to get our confidence up and to hone those skills, and just to be in that place where we are showing up for people. And if that means taking on a few people at a very low cost or free cost while we're building our confidence and while we're building our businesses up, I think there's some reasons why that can make sense for certain people. So that could be something that touched upon at this stage as well, in creating that income baseline, but we'll want to get those one-to-one clients in at that stage. And then the next part of the Wholehearted Business Roadmap is to grow your community. So this is really around creating some kind of content marketing strategy. This show is the core of what I do. So creating the show every week, hopefully giving you guys some really helpful stuff that you can take away, hopefully letting you guys get to know me a bit better, and then you can make the decision if you want to work with me further, but also inviting you into my community and joining my list. And I've got lots of different freebies and things, but really we want to build particularly our email list based community, because unlike social media, we own our email list. When we have people on our email list, we've got that opportunity to build relationships with them and serve them in a deeper way. It also means that in terms of longevity for our business, we're building up that audience, we're building up that community of people who get us, and we can create offers to serve them, and then which have a much better chance of selling, which is going to generate an income for our business when we serve them in that way as well. It can also be building an online community on social media, but I'm a really big fan of making sure that whatever it is that we're doing in terms of marketing ourselves around content, which is something I sometimes call slower marketing, because it takes a bit of time to move people through that process of getting to know you. I think making sure that whatever you're doing has something that's going to link back to getting people on your list. Just posting on Instagram might not be the best way to get people back on your list, or TikTok or things like that. So it's just making sure that you've got some very clear route that is going to help people join your email list as well. And I find like Google SEO, Pinterest SEO, YouTube, search engine optimization, all of those things can work quite well. So that's the grow your community. And what you might find is that some people are working on the creating an income baseline and like filling the one-to-one slots and building the community at the same time. I think what we want to not do is we don't want to think that the growing your community stuff is going to get us clients particularly fast. And that's why I think we need to layer on these higher touch strategies as well. But if you've got the time, I think you can do those two things simultaneously. And there's always rule breakers. I think I've mentioned this in a recent episode. There's always people who are going to just follow you somewhere or join your email list and instantly like they're interested in working with you. In fact, I had a message off someone this morning who was like, I came across you on Pinterest, and then she's booked in for a free chat, and it can happen really fast. So there are always rule breakers, but this is the way that it makes sense to me. So once you're looking at that stuff, and let's say that usually this stage, I find, in all honesty, this kind of stage of getting your one-to-one slots filled, building your community and just building your business up can take anything from like 6 months to 2 years, depending on how much time you've got. And it might sound like a long time, but I keep wanting to say to people, it's so worth it. Like, I'm sitting here after 10 years of running my business, and it's taken a lot of work, and it's taken a lot of consistency, and it's taken a lot of showing up day in, day out, and it is 100% been worth it. So it's keeping going through those stages and allowing things to grow, and also reflecting on what's working and what's not, and things like that as well. So we've got that stage, and then as we start to move through to the next stage, it's around creating new offers. Now, once you've built up a bigger community, once you know that your income baseline is covered and you're actually getting the income that you need for your business to like work and survive, I think that's a really good time when you can start thinking, okay, so what new things can I bring into the business? What new offers can I introduce? Now, some people have introduced these much, much sooner. I did in my business, and that was fine. I think it works in different ways, and it really just depends on like your personality and how you want to show up and how creative you feel and how much time you've got and lots of different things. But we want to create some new offers and bring those into our business. So this is things like diversifying your income. It's scaling. So let's say that you've built up a email-based community of people, and you're filling up your one-to-one slots with more ease. You're not necessarily having to go out and really do a lot of those higher touch things to get clients. It's happening with a bit more ease. What I find now in my business is people, it sounds a bit silly in some ways, but people just show up. Like, I'm putting all of my stuff out there on a consistent basis, and I'm putting it out there, and then people just find it, and then when they're the right fit, they just show up, and it's magical. But that's where it's getting to. And I think it's this part of just getting known for what it is you do and being consistent and people getting to know you and all of that kind of stuff. So at some point, you're going to want to introduce some new offers. And I think if you want to just have your coaching business is just working with people on a one-to-one basis, that is totally fine. And you can just do that. And you can scale through increasing your prices. It's not really scaling, but you can make more money through increasing your prices and things like that. But some of us are going to want to diversify our income even more. And it can be all sorts of different things here. It can be getting more recurring income through something like a membership, creating a group program, creating an online course. There's all sorts of different things. Other digital products. There's all sorts of different options that you can bring in at this stage, and earlier if you want to as well. But there's lots of different options here that you can bring in that's going to diversify your income and just start to grow your business as well. And then kind of the next stage, the very final stage, I think, of the Wholehearted Business Roadmap is to maximize your impact. And this is really where we're starting to grow, and the number of people that we're working with is expanding. So things like this is scaling bigger using ads and PR. Now, again, there's no rule that says you can't do ads much sooner. If you want to, you can absolutely do that. But I think at this point, when you've got a solid foundation of what it is that you're doing in your business, you know what works and what doesn't. What I wouldn't be doing any earlier is investing masses of money into ads, because it might end up being a waste of money because you might not have quite refined some of your processes and getting people to convert like in a way that works a lot sooner than that. But there's no reason why you couldn't explore ads. But for me, I'm only just really getting into ads in a bigger way now that I feel like I'm discovering. And even still now, I'm still just figuring out, okay, so what works and what doesn't, and what's going to make sense before I plug a lot of money into ads. But you've got ads, PR, press and PR, massive. Like when I was a health coach, was huge. I've got like a stack of magazines that I was in, which is really awesome. But looking at PR is a really great way to get yourself seen and maximize your impact and get more people into your community. You might want to settle into those recurring income streams, things like memberships, longer term group programs. There's various different options. Evergreen, selling things on an evergreen basis as well is something that you can start and input into your business too. And this is really just about whatever your version of success is, this is the point where you're really embedding that in and really starting to make that a reality. And often, again, this is around working less and not having to work loads and all of that kind of thing. So that is the Wholehearted Business Roadmap. And then what we've got underneath is something I've added recently, just as it's become embedded for me, is mindset. Runs along the bottom of all of this stuff, because at every stage of business, like we're going to get triggered, stuff's going to come up, we're going to wonder if we're good enough, we're going to get imposter syndrome. Like there's so much stuff is going to come up at every stage of business, and I think being aware that mindset thread runs through everything is really important. So that, in a nutshell, is the Wholehearted Business Roadmap. And like I say, I created it because I wanted to visually show people, okay, so this is a rough, I suppose a rough path that you can take, just what's the word I'm looking for? It's basically just a roadmap. It is something that you can use. You don't have to follow it in a super linear way. And we're all human, we're all different. What we want to do, like the way that we want to do things and what our needs are is going to be different. But I wanted to have this visual thing that hopefully helps people just get a sense of what the journey might look like to make things work for them and to help them create like this fabulous, sustainable, business that helps loads of people, that makes a good amount of money and that leaves you feeling satisfied in what it is that you do. And I really do think it's possible. It's possible in lots of different ways, but I do feel like the roadmap is a good way to approach it, or else I wouldn't have made it. So check that out. Like I said, there'll be a link where you can see this on the blog. Now, this week is a very exciting week because I have my signature 6-month group program is open for new members, and this is Wholehearted Business. Now, the fact that the roadmap is part of the foundation of that 6-month group program, and it is designed for anyone who is wanting to grow, coach and business, to support them on that journey. The roadmap is the foundation for that, so we do come into that, but again, my whole thing is about making sure that whatever you're doing is reflective of you and feels aligned, and it isn't just like a one-size-fits-all thing, but the roadmap is there as a guide. And what's included in the program is a whole lot of support. So you get unlimited voice note support from me. We use the Voxer app, so it's like having a coach in your back pocket all of the time. We have mastermind group calls. So every 2 weeks we meet as a group and we have a chat about where we are in our businesses, any challenges that we're coming up against, any wins that we've had, and we share those in the group and help us move forward. And we have a co-working session every month where if there's anything that you're procrastinating with, you can come along to the co-working session and just get all of that done. There's a lovely community around, obviously in the group, of women who are all different stages of growing the business, which is fabulous. We also have things like mini challenges. So where people feel like they're getting a bit stuck or need a bit of a confidence boost or a step outside of the comfort zone, we'll do some mini challenges. So things that we've done in the past are things like doing live video, and things like that. So we do mini challenges. Also, we have mindset sessions. So we have specific calls where we just get together and talk about mindset stuff, because it is so important to not miss that out. A bit like I was saying with the roadmap, it runs alongside everything. So having those specific sessions in there to help with that is really effective. And ultimately, the program is all about supporting you to grow your business to the next level, to have that support, to have that accountability, to be in a community where you feel seen. So a big value of mine is that people I work with feel seen. I've been in big memberships myself. I've been even in big group programs, and I've just never, like, for me, I really need to feel like seen and supported to get the most out of it. This is really what I wanted to achieve with this. And like I say, there's a lot of accountability in there. There's a lot of support. There's weekly check-ins, all that kind of stuff to make sure that you're going to move the needle on your business and something's actually going to change and something's actually going to grow. So if that sounds good, check out Wholehearted Business. The link will be in the description. It's at wholeheartedlaura.com/wholehearted-business if you want to check that out. The price of the programme is £150 a month for 6 months, or £800 as a single payment. The price is going to be going up. There's so much value in this programme. I've tweaked it, and like I said, this has been a long time in the making, and there's been certain tweaks in terms of what support is there, but it's where it needs to be now. I'm really happy with that, and the price will be increasing as soon as we close, basically. So the next time that I open, the price is going to be going up. So if that sounds good to you, now is the time to check it out and get involved. It's a fabulous program. I'm really proud of it. Anyone who's in there is going to find that their business is going to shift. A lot of the guys who are in there now, it's the same things, like they've gotten clients, the confidence is increased, they're showing up more when it comes to the market, and it's all those like really practical things that are going to shift stuff, that are going to make a difference, that I try and focus on in the programme, as well as the underlying mindset stuff that supports it all and supports those things, you know, moving ahead and shifting and changing as well. So again, if that sounds good, do check out Wholehearted Business, and I'd love to invite you in there. If you have any questions about whether or not it's right for you, feel free to pop me a DM on Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedlylaura over there, and I'll be more than happy to help, or just pop me an email, laura@wholeheartedlylaura.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have about whether or not the programme is going to be a good fit. But yes, do check that out. Like I say, the roadmap, if you want to have a look at that, it is at the blog post that accompanies this episode. You'll be able to see that there if you want to see a visual representation of it. But yeah, I hope that you found that helpful. I hope that just seeing how that all fits together, like, and I say, this isn't like a one-size-fits-all thing, and it might look a bit different for you depending on what your version of success is, but I think this kind of pathway makes a lot of sense for a lot of people and helps to avoid some of the things that might not work out quite as well if you do things in a different way. But it's there for you to take and use in whatever way you feel is useful. And like I say, if you do want to grow your coaching business, if you are at the point where you feel that you're going to benefit from some support, that you're going to benefit from some accountability, and that you really want to start moving your business forward and actually taking steps towards that version of success, if you know deep down that your business has that potential and you're ready to realise it, then Wholehearted Business could be the perfect place for you. So do check it out. That web address again is wholeheartedlylaura.com/wholehearted-business, or check out the link in the description. Now, I hope that you found that useful, and I will see you guys. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.